What we are witnessing today increasingly resembles a Cold War scenario, updated for 2026. On one side, Russia appears to be advancing a proposal to the United States that is as unusual as it is revealing, a potential exchange of influence. In essence, Moscow would be willing to reduce its support for Iran if Washington were to reduce its support for Ukraine. At first glance, this may sound like diplomacy. In reality, it resembles something quite different, a geopolitical trade. But this proposal does not emerge in isolation. It unfolds within a rapidly escalating context. Iran is launching drones and missiles across the Gulf region. Energy production is being disrupted. Markets are reacting with volatility, and the United States is responding, yet without a clearly defined long-term direction. This raises a fundamental question. Are we observing a coordinated global strategy or a system drifting into unmanaged chaos? A single visual makes this complexity easier to grasp. The crisis is not fragmented, it is interconnected. Russia, the United States, Iran, Ukraine, and the Gulf region are not separate theaters, but elements of the same strategic system. Russia's proposal marks a departure from traditional diplomatic frameworks. It does not aim to resolve a conflict, but rather to rebalance influence. In practical terms, it implies a trade-off, one sphere of influence exchanged for another. This approach is problematic because it equates fundamentally different conflicts. The war in Ukraine, a territorial invasion, is implicitly placed on the same level as the balance of power in the Middle East. Such equivalence reshapes the rules of engagement in international relations. The logic becomes clearer when visualized. On one side, arms and energy. On the other, drones, militias, and regional leverage. At the center lies the true objective, money and influence. The critical issue is not whether this proposal will be accepted. The real question is why it is being made. By introducing such a proposition, Russia achieves several objectives simultaneously. It creates confusion within Western alliances, introduces ambiguity into strategic discussions, and shifts the focus away from the original conflict. Most importantly, it sends a powerful signal. Everything is negotiable. When examined closely, a coherent strategy emerges. The goals are not hidden: to divide Western alliances, to expand economic and geopolitical influence, and to project military power. This is not improvisation, it is structured planning. While this diplomatic maneuver unfolds, Iran is actively escalating tensions on the ground. The use of drones and missiles against energy infrastructure in the Gulf represents a deliberate strategy. This is not simply military action, it is economic warfare. By targeting energy flows, Iran affects not only regional actors, but the global system as a whole. The Strait of Hormuz stands at the center of this dynamic. It is one of the most critical choke points in the global energy network, and precisely where pressure is being applied. When energy supply is disrupted, the consequences extend far beyond the immediate region. Prices rise, markets react, instability spreads. In this context, Iran does not need to achieve a decisive military victory. It only needs to generate sufficient instability to alter global dynamics. The effects are immediate and tangible. Oil prices increase, stock markets decline, and inflation rises. The abstract becomes concrete. Everyday costs increase. The United States has responded to these developments. There have been actions, signals of strength, and attempts to contain escalation. However, a critical element appears to be missing: a clearly articulated long-term strategy. The distinction is essential. Acting is not the same as planning. A simple framework reveals the issue. There is action, but no visible long-term plan. There is response, but no clear path towards stability. There is escalation, but limited evidence of control over its consequences. What emerges is not a strategy, but a reaction. When a major global actor operates without a clear direction, the resulting vacuum does not remain empty. Other actors move to fill it. Russia gains leverage. Iran increases pressure. Regional dynamics become more complex. Influence shifts, not necessarily through strength, but through opportunity. This leads to a fundamental question: who benefits from instability? The answer is uncomfortable but consistent. The defense industry gains from increased demand. Russia benefits from strategic leverage. Iran expands its regional influence. In a fragmented system, instability becomes an asset. Beyond military and economic dynamics, there is another layer: narrative. Each actor involved frames the crisis differently. These narratives are not incidental, they are strategic tools. The United States frames its actions in terms of security. Russia emphasizes responsibility. Iran speaks of justice. Three distinct narratives, each presenting a different interpretation of the same events. When these elements are considered together, a broader pattern emerges. Russia operates through long-term strategy. Iran applies targeted pressure. The United States responds, but without a clearly defined overarching plan. The interaction between power, economic interests, and escalating tensions creates a system that is inherently unstable. Each element reinforces the others, producing a feedback loop that increases fragility. This crisis highlights a fundamental reality of contemporary geopolitics. Power alone is not sufficient. Reaction alone is not sufficient. Strategy is what determines outcomes. In today's world, those who plan shape the system. Those who merely respond are shaped by it. And at this moment, the balance between strategy and reaction appears increasingly uneven. Call to reflection. The question remains open. Are we witnessing a coherent global strategy unfolding behind the scenes? Or are we entering a phase where reactions replace planning and instability becomes the norm?